mistakes were made.
G'day, Nick here, Animal Engineering. Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, a bit of a milestone one, we're going to get this roof back on the van. So pretty exciting stuff. It's been off for about 7 months now. A lot has happened to the structure and the body of the van. Hopefully with the bracing and everything that I've put in there is sufficient, so when we go to put this roof back on, it actually fits. It's a bit scary. She's all moving ahead. Now, as far as the roof goes, it's not too bad from the outside. So one of the biggest issues is this hole. That's a pain in the ass. Been thinking about putting a skylight in there, and I don't really want a whole roof. I'm not a fan of sunroofs or any hole in a roof whatsoever. They eventually leak and turn to custard. But as a whole, it's pretty good. It's not too bad at all. From memory, the inside of the roof isn't too bad, like rust-wise. It's been a long time since I've actually had a look under there. Well, it was last time was when I took it off. But from memory, it's not too bad. First things first, we'll get the old forklift in here and we'll flip this roof over so we can see what it's actually like. Rightio, well, straight off the bat, it is worse than I remembered. Not super bad. Around where this hole, where that's been cut is the worst. I guess moisture's been in there, and then obviously originally it had the old insulation there's just held moisture and rusted it, which is a bummer. Rightio, well there you go, a bit of sand up, took about an hour. Came up a little bit better and just knocked all the main rust off and gave it a blow off, and the amount of stuff that's still coming out of that, it's ridiculous. Found another couple of little treasures. So I got a quarter from 1965 and a pen from Mac's Garage in Fort Worth, Texas. Might have to do a bit of a Google, see if they're still around. So next phase is I've been to Bunnings, I've got some cloth and a whole heap of vinegar. I'm going to label the cloth in there and then saturate that with the vinegar. Leave it overnight, see how that goes. Normally with the videos you see using vinegar, they submerge it and let it do its thing. Obviously I can't submerge that, and I don't want to affect the outside by putting it in a big tub. So I can kind of see this all been a waste of time, but I've contacted 6 different places that advertise mobile wet blasting, and not a single one of them do it anymore. I'm going to give this a go. If I'm not happy with it, I might have to reach out on some of the social media, Facebook and stuff like that, some of the different groups around Perth, and see if anyone can lead me in the direction of someone who actually still does it. Okay, we're coming to the end of day 2. You see it's getting there. A little bit more rust up around that hole. That's got to get cut out anyway. I took it outside and gave it a wash off with the pressure pack and some baking soda to neutralise that vinegar. I think that's sort of a bit more of that swirly white stuff, so you can see there's possibly still the baking soda. We'll need to get that washed off. So pretty much the whole bottom bit, it worked really well, the vinegar, a lot better than I thought it would. But all up on the top edge there, where it was sort of more exposed to the outside elements, that bit, that's sort of where it comes over the side of the van. There's a bit more rust there, it's a bit harder. It's definitely not acceptable at the moment. Still trying to find like a mobile wet blaster. Can't find anyone. I managed to find one guy, but he's not available for 3 weeks. Lots of mobile sandblasting businesses for sale. Seems to be about, I think it's about 4. It's about 4 businesses for sale, and then another 2 units for sale. So obviously not the done deal, I guess. It's been a couple of weeks. I decided that I was not happy with how the finish I was getting with the vinegar in that. Just wasn't happy with it. On the bottom you see it did work really good, but up around the sides it just wasn't cutting it. So jumped on the old internet and I've done a bit more of a search, and I found a guy, I think it's Siam from Blast Mates. So he came out on Saturday, and it was a horrible day. It was blowing its ass off, raining. We got the roof outside and he sandblasted the whole thing and done an amazing job, to be perfectly honest. It was awesome. And we had a bit of rain and stuff coming in, so I went ahead and I've got it all into 2-pack. You see, she's all nice and shiny, looking the goods. So during that couple of weeks I've been busy. Finish off this wall, got myself a high ab installed. Still got to get a pump for that to get that actually working. And you can see, where is it? Just that little gem there, hydraulic rivet press. So that's something that's been in the background, something we wanted to do for years and years and years. I've had it sitting there for a while. Now I've got this wall hooked up, got the power pack there, got it all set up. So that's all happening. Also been busy working away on this ute, doing rust repairs on that, got the tubs in, so I'll be jamming away on that. And got myself a bandsaw, sort of go along with the riveting stuff. Going to be cutting some big channel and I-beam and angle and stuff, so move the rack to the back wall there. Got the bandsaw set up. So jamming away doing a few other things. But now it's time to attack this roof. So sandblasting didn't really bring up anything that was unknown. Got this patch here, little patch to do there, that hole. So over here where there's a power point of something at some point, there's that, and then obviously this big hole here. But yeah, sandblasting didn't uncover any hidden surprises, which is a bonus. You know, you see those horror stories, we sandblast stuff and it just goes pear-shaped. I think the first bit I'm going to attack is going to be this big hole, and the easiest way to do that I think is going to be flip the roof over so that it's sitting in its natural sort of gravity spot, and then we'll make a template of that, make a piece up, and we'll get that welded in. Well, you wouldn't believe it, but the van that just keeps on giving. That top compartment at the front of the van we've got pulled so much crap out of already. Now I've flipped this roof over, I don't know, 4 or 5 times now. It's been sandblasted, I've gotten in there, I've cleaned it, I've painted it. Still, when I flipped it over then, something fell down. And I was like, what is that? See that handcrafted in India? I was like, oh, what's that? Got like a little flower type thing going on. It's a tobacco pipe. So, yeah, another little thing from the van. Well, surely there can't be anything else hiding in there. Yeah, little tobacco pipe from India. If you believe that. So anyway, back to the old roof hole. So we'll get a piece cut out, we'll get on the old English wheel, we'll get a bit of shape into it, see if we can sort of match the profile of the roof nice. It's not going to need a great deal, it's reasonably flat. So we'll get that marked up and cut out. Now this back edge here is sort of right along this seam of the roof with the lead in it, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes when we do some welding. I am going to have to dig the lead out of the roof. You see it's sort of cracked in a few spots, so I'm going to have to re-lead the roof. I've got to do the corners when I weld that back on anyway, but I'll probably go ahead and redo these 2 big seams on the top, and then try and get some paint and discolour it so it's not shiny. But anyway, we'll get a piece made for this hole and we'll carry on. Right, well there you go, that's all tacked in, looking pretty good actually, considering I can't sort of reach in there with a hammer and dolly and line the panels up as I would like to. It's pretty spot on. Couple of bits where it's slightly high, but I don't have one of those fancy planishing hammers that'll reach right in there and knock it down and flat, but it is pretty good. I'm happy enough with that. Cool it good and sand it. So we'll smash out a bit of weld and then that's the biggest repair on the roof done. Hasn't actually taken that long, really. Alright, well that's not a bad morning's work. We've got that hole in the roof is gone. That panel welded in. Now, I don't know if you can quite see on camera, but over that side there's a bit of a whoop whoop. Now, I was kind of expecting there to get a bit of warpage on such a big panel. But yeah, without being able to sort of reach in there and sort of hammer that weld down or anything, it's kind of got to live with it a bit. I'm hoping once I flip the roof over I'll be able to just bang it down a bit and get a bit more shape back into it. Even if I can get that, what's going that way to flop up, probably look a bit better. But it is better than a massive rusty hole. So, yeah. So next on my list, before I flip it over, go around. There's a few dents on the old roof. There's a big one there. You can see that. So try and hit that one out. There's a crease all the way up to here. That crease there. Coming around. Bit of a dent there. And we've got something funny going on here. I haven't actually noticed this before, but bit of a kinky kink there. We'll go through, I'll hammer dolly them out. Get them as good as I can. Alright, well it is the next day. I'm back at it again. Took a quick little break. Stayed out quite late last night and made myself a 15-metre long truss, which I think is roughly 45 feet. We are pushing the shed that way. So big undercover lean-to to store all the trailers and horse floats and crap that's just out getting rained on and in the sun. So it'd be nice to have all that stored out undercover. Hopefully get some of the stuff from in this shed out there as well, get a bit more room. But we're back on the old roof. So just sort of been around now and you can see there's a few pinholes around the show. I've just sort of gone around with the drill bit and drilled them out. And then we've got here where there was lights on all four corners. I do like the look of those lights there. I probably will put lights there, but I've got to get Australian approved ones, which will no doubt be a different mounting holes than what they are. There's also a hole at the front for where the windscreen wiper was, and then some random hole there. Who knows what that's for. So I'll go through, bash out all those holes. Ooh, it's close. Bash those holes out, then we should be able to flip it over, do those couple little repairs on the inside, and then I've got to go, once that's done, those two inner pieces there go the full length of the roof, got to get them welded on, and then we can get it back on the van. It's pretty exciting. It's been like 7 months, I think. Definitely been a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but we're getting there. Soon to have a roof. So I'll get those holes welded up and then we'll cut back once I've got it flipped over. Righto, well fast forward a few days, I've been through, I've got all those holes welded up. Basically wherever there was a little pinhole I just went around with the drill drilled a hole out a bit bigger to get some nice steel, and then just plug welded them up. Also, if you've seen the last episode, I took a little bit of a sideways step there, and I've re-leaded both the seams in the roof. We'll flip the roof over in a second and you'll see why I've done that. Alright, well there you go, as you can see, doing that lead, it's just torched all the paint. So that was the reason. If you missed it in the last episode, that was the main reason for doing that lead now, rather than when it's on the van and I can't get to these, especially these top pieces here, which will be in behind the little inner pieces that get welded on. So it's all coming along. So now what we're going to do is a little piece of rust here and fill that hole on the other side, and then we'll be ready to start welding those two inner pieces on. And once those are welded back in, we should be ready to chuck it back on the van, which is pretty exciting. So we'll bash them out and then we'll get these side pieces in. Alright, well a bit of time has passed, been off to work, done that thing. Really need to get the old Powerball happening, so I'd stay in my shed and play around. Either that or try and nut out this YouTube algorithm and business and get more than 80 views a video. But to you 80, thank you. So I've been through the roof, fixed all the rust everywhere. These two holes, I couldn't get to them with a hammer and dolly to make them all nice and flush and neat. So I sort of set it back in just a touch, and you can see I've got a little bit of filler there. The inside of the van will have some filler in it. It's going to be done nice as opposed to the outside of the van looking all ratty with the patina. So not too concerned about that. I've been through and I've got those two pieces there to weld into the roof now. And before welding them in, I've gone through and I've put a layer of sound deadener and then 2 layers of an acoustic matting. So eventually the whole roof and the sides will be covered. But I've done that now because once these side pieces are on, you just won't get to that bit to stick it down properly. So now I've just got to weld them in, hopefully without setting fire to that. And then once that's welded in, give it another quick coat of paint, and then we'll have a go at putting it on the van. Alright, well, this camera is kind of giving me the shits really. It's only 30 degrees and it's already tripping out, too hot, not even anywhere near summer yet. But the roof is done. See, but didn't really miss a great deal anyway. All I was doing is just, as you've seen, those other little clips, whatever it managed to record, just working along with the clamp, tacking it as I go. And then I've been through and painted, so got that same matte grey paint there in where it's going to be joined to the van. I've also gone and screwed and clear-coated that front panel on. I want to have that on there, making sure that that window area stays the right shape as I go to put it on the van. Yeah, other than that, done a bit more prep work on the van. Ground off all that paint on the top there and got that into some weld through primer, ready to go. Must say, I am a bit nervous. It was 8 months ago that I chopped the roof off this van, and a lot has happened to it in that time. All the frames been sandblasted. If you've been following along, you know the side panel's been offered, all the rust repairs on them, put a door in the other side, all the repair work to the roof. The quarter panels have been completely off, all the rust out of them. So a lot has happened. Am I expecting it to go straight back on? Not really. I do hope though that it doesn't take too much persuasion. I'm hoping get it sitting there, jimmy bar here, jimmy bar there, it'll drop in. I'm not really expecting anything too insanely out there, but obviously a lot has happened, so we shall see. First things first, we'll get it flipped over, then we'll chuck some magnets on it and have a go at lifting her on. Right, well, one thing I learned when I took the roof off is that the magnets don't like the sheet metal. I don't know if it's just not enough steel for them there to magnetise onto, but I've got a couple of big bits of 3/4 inch plate there. We'll chuck them on the other side of the roof, and that's kind of how I done it to get it off the van in the first place. So use these, and the magnet will go through the sheet of the roof and onto these, and we'll pick her up and see if she goes on. Watch your old fingers on that. Holy crap. Alright, fingers crossed. See if she fits. Alrighty, well, as I sort of predicted, it's gone on there. It's not far off. You'll see on both sides. See that there? So on both sides it's kind of opened up. So this side's a little bit worse than the other side. But I don't think it's too out there. You can see the holes for the uprights of where the posts around the doors, they're sort of lining up. The rear quarters are looking pretty good, so that's not looking too bad around there. It is that way a touch. Now, unfortunately, when I took it off, I didn't actually put any clecos in this back for some reason. I don't know why. Bit of a mistake there. Mistakes were made. Pretty good to see the old roof back on it again. It's been a long time. Alright, it is the next day. As you can see, the roof is back on the trestles. I slept on it overnight and I came back out this morning, had a look at it, and I sort of realised what's going on. So on the van, you've seen these sides had a bit of a bow, and it's really picking up this piece here. You can see it's kind of kicked up that way where it should be flat. Hope that sort of picked that up, but yeah, it's sort of this piece here on this side and same on the other side, they're both sort of kicked up where, while the roof's sitting like that, they should be flat, and that's sort of holding the whole roof up. So my plan is, it's only this bit at the back here on both sides. So my plan is to just cut that piece out, reshape it so it's flat, and then I'll weld it back in. Bit of a bummer, really, but you know, what has happened to the old roof? I don't know why that's gone out the way it is, but it can be fixed. So I'll smash that out, and then I'll have to give it another coat of paint and all that sort of jazz, and then we'll have another go at putting it on. Right, we'll fast forward a few hours. I've got it looking a hell of a lot better. So you can see the whole side much straighter now, and that angle of that piece is nice and flat now. Hopefully that's sort of showing up on camera, like what it was like and what it's like now. I've done a measurement check side to side, and it's pretty close. It's within sort of 5 mil of what the van is. I might just have to just pull it in just a touch just to get it to tack up nice and good, but I am pretty confident that it's good. So we'll get a coat of paint on this, and then we'll have go number 2. It is looking a hell of a lot better than it did last time, that's for damn sure. I've been through and I've got the inner quarter pieces there, so I've got them on both sides in with all the clecos. All those holes line up perfect. coming inside. Got the uprights there and here. So on both sides, all those bolt holes line up, which is good. The roof there's sitting on that little bit of RHS, which is setting the height for the door. That's all good. And then down the back there, those two screw holes on that side line up, and same on that side there. One of those screws I forgot snapped off when I pulled it apart. So one of the screw holes at the back there snapped off when I was pulling it apart, and I just forgot about it. But it's no dramas, we can just drill another hole, put another screw there. So everything is basically back where it was. The only issue I'm having now, really, is actual height of the roof to the side. Alright, it's the next day. We had a bit of a play around. You can see a couple of strategically placed ratchet straps there going up over the roof. That's pulled it down all nice and good. It's fitting a hell of a lot nicer than it was before. So, see down the side there, it's all looking pretty good. There's little marks. And that really shows up on camera, but there's a little cut mark there, which is from where I cut it apart before. That's lining up perfectly on that quarter panel. Come around to the side here. All the little spot weld marks along here are looking good. Yeah, same thing down that side. So now it's all lining up where it was. I haven't done any welding yet, so we'll go through, we'll start welding her on. Alright, well, we had a old battery failure there. Ran out of juice, magic pixies, but I didn't get this side on camera, but I've got the other side, same deal. So you see that's all welded back on. Been through and done all the spot welds around the rear door. Other side's all done. Now you can see that's pretty ugly in that corner. And same deal with that corner. Before that was all just filled with lead. I will be leading these seams, which I guess is probably obvious, but I'll do it off camera. There's not much point filming it, I don't feel, but I'll make up some little patch panels for these and weld them in before I actually do the lead work. So yeah, that's the rear end all done, welded back together, so we'll move to the front. Front's not as involved, obviously not doing the big welds on the inside, but we'll move up to the front and we'll get that done. Alrighty, well, for the sake of this episode of getting the roof back on the van, I think I'm going to call it there. It's not 100% back on, I've still got to do a bit of work on the centre pillar there. I've got to make up some little strengthening pieces to make sure that's nice and solid. I still have to do that on the bottom from when I first put the front end back together. There's a lot of little odds and ends around the shell that need to get sorted, like those pieces around the rear door frame. I'm going to go do that all off camera. I don't see any point in filming that or doing anything on camera with that. And basically once I sort of start doing the engineering, designing the chassis and all that sort of stuff, that's going to take a little while, so I'll have a little bit of downtime just to get all that sorted and finish the shell completely. But gotta say, having the roof back on, so stoked. 8 months ago it got chopped off. For 8 months I've been wanting to get it back on, and just other projects, other things happening, work, blah blah. It's just taken a hell of a lot longer than I thought it was gonna take when I first chopped it off, but I am super stoked with how it's come up. Like the doors, now that the roof's back on, I'm stoked with how the doors look. I've got the new hinges here. So I've got the new hinges, they've turned up, they've been here for a little bit, but they are like solid stainless, adjustable 3 different ways. So that's another big job I've got to do and revisit, is actually getting those hinges in those doors and tidying that up. But yeah, if you've made it this far, like even the rear end, oh, that booty now with those tail lights, the roof's on there, super happy. It's come up awesome. So yeah, like I say, still a bit of work to do, finishing it up, tidying it up, but it's a complete rust-free shell with patina, which is pretty rare, I believe, for a Metro. So yeah, thank you very, very much for watching if you've made it this far, and we'll see you on the next one.